Yeah, so with great pleasure today, we in our Nature Talk series, we are hosting Dr. Vijayanand sir. Dr. Vijayanand is a senior pediatric surgeon who has worked for nearly 30 years in Makunda Mission Christian Hospital, and he has transformed that hospital. But that's a story for another day. Today he is with us. In last 15 years, he's been a prolific nature journalist, like the kind of the who has documented a lot of observations and biodiversity. And I think he's the most prolific in iNaturalist platform. He has around 18,000 entries of observation, which includes around nearly 4,000 species, and a lot of things he has identified there also. And at the same time, he has published biodiversity related observations in journals, around 14-15 journals, and a lot of his images are used in books as well. So I'll not spend much time and just give it to Vijayanand sir, and he will highlight today the importance of biodiversity documentations and how it helps in science and as well as ourselves. Sir, please.
Yeah, you can see the screen, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you for inviting me. I'm going to show a lot of slides and a little bit of information on each of them, mostly about my experience so far and whatever I've learned. So Anne and me moved to this hospital in Northeast India. So that was part of our story. So this was a completely closed down hospital. And that is the location. It's very close to the Bangladesh border, on the eastern Bangladesh border, but also not very far from Myanmar. So this is a biodiversity hotspot. So from 1992, when we first went there, till 2009, I had absolutely no interest in biodiversity. But this decision to move to this place made a huge difference in the biodiversity work. And this is the reason we went there. We wanted to go to a place where we thought we'll be of the greatest transformational impact. And we defined that as the population divided by resources. That means number of people divided by number of doctors. And this place had a very good figure for that. And that is how we ended up in Makunda. And my story starts with the myocardial infarction in 2008. So this is the steps going up to our house. We had 50 steps up to the top of our house. At the time, we didn't have electricity. So I got my MI at the bottom of those steps, and somehow managed to crawl up all those steps to reach the house. Streptokinase was not available. So I ended up with the ejection fraction of only 35%. So nothing much could be done for the heart, but I was asked to go around walking every day. And I've written that story in this blog post. So this was my first interesting encounter. So there were a bamboo post which was used to hold the volleyball net. And on that post, I found a woodpecker making a hole. So I photographed it and put it up on Flickr. And it turned out that the first diagnosis was that it is a striped-breasted woodpecker, which is one of the rarest woodpeckers in India. So everybody was interested in it. And then I started upgrading my equipment. At the time, I had a Nikon D70 and a 70-300 lens without vibration reduction. So I slowly bought all these other cameras. And right now I'm using this D800 and D500. So I had to move to the next camera because the previous ones got worn out. So they became not possible to use. And similarly, the lenses. And very briefly, DSLRs allow interchangeable lenses to be used, but they are quite heavy, expensive. They allow native raw image. That means even if the image is overexposed or underexposed, they can be corrected in processing. And they don't have many automatic modes, and they're prone to develop fungus. And other cameras are different, but they are, I think if you are planning to do large numbers of photos, it is good to buy a DSLR. And that is the camera I was using. And I use Photoshop, this Lightroom, to do basic cropping and some minor editing. And I bought an iMac, and now I am on my third iMac. Again, the first two got worn out. And then I started putting these photographs on Flickr. So Flickr allows very high resolution photos to be put up. So as you can see, I have about 40,000 photographs on Flickr, occupying about 100 GB. And the other thing is that they are all put on Creative Commons license that allows people to download and use it within limitations. So because after I did that, I have got a lot of views. So right now I have 2.6 million views of all these photos. And this is Creative Commons. So if you just put copyright, then nobody can use the photos without your permission. But if you use Creative Commons, then if you write just BY, then they can use it for any purpose just by giving your name, attribution. Then you can also add non-commercial. So that means if they want to sell it or make money out of it, then they'll have to contact you. Or you say share alike. That means you cannot modify it. And no derivatives means you can't make it into like cartoon images and things like that. So it is good to put our images into some sort of Creative Commons license. And my photographs have been used in all these books. Actually, several more. I just took a few of them. And if you look at the top left-hand book, the animal behavior, I've got about 2 or 3 images in that. And that book costs about 1.2 lakh rupees. And then there are books like the spider genera. In that I have 36 photographs. So all these authors, they searched and found my photographs on the internet, requested permission. And instead of paying me, I requested them to give me a copy of the book. And this is GPS mapping. So before we had good GPS on phones, I used this GPS device. So if you look at this, this is a trail that I have walked on. To the right, there is a small water body. So I may say that when I reach that point 051, I should just go to the left little distance and I'll come to the water body. So it's good to plan our trekking. And I also bought a very simple sound recorder. This is about 5,000 rupees. And that allows sounds like bird sounds to be recorded. And then you can upload them onto this website called Zenocanto. I have 70 recordings that are uploaded. If you don't know what bird is making that noise, the site members will help to identify. And a lot of my photos are also on this World Bird Database. So I just wanted to tell a little bit about iNaturalist. It is the top citizen science website in the world. So most of the time we take photographs because we like the look of the bird. And then we put it up on Facebook or Instagram or on WhatsApp, and then they are lost and forgotten. But once we put them into one of these citizen science portals, then they become permanent scientific grade observations because they are tagged with the latitude, longitude, altitude, and the time and date on which they were taken. And they can be used for research. So this site is co-hosted by California Academy of Sciences and National Geographic. And it allows upload of every life form, maybe except viruses and very small microscopic organisms. And once the observation is uploaded, it is peer reviewed by specialists in that particular field. And then it becomes a research grade observation, which can be used for research. And you can download all the observations and import them into other databases. So I have put my iNaturalist observations into eBird and India Biodiversity Portal. So this is my profile on iNaturalist. I've got about 18,000 observations. And I am #1 in India as far as species are concerned. But according to the number of observations, I'm #3. And these are the locations from which my observations have been taken. And then iNaturalist also has a mobile app. So we can download this app into the phone and take photographs of flowers and things like that. And the time, date, latitude, longitude, and altitude are taken from the phone's GPS. So that is very useful because you don't have to buy a camera. So basically, anybody with a smartphone can start uploading into iNaturalist. So this was my first publication. I witnessed a mating of this greater kukal and made some observations and published it into this bird ecology study group, which is an online sort of not really a journal, but a sort of place where people exchange observations. And this was the first major publication. So I had gone into the jungle to look for hoolock gibbons. And then while I was going along the way, I saw a black bird. Unfortunately, the camera settings were set for a moth macro photography, and the photographs did not come out very well. When I went back and processed the image, I found that it was a very rare sunbird, Van Hasselt sunbird, which had not been photographed in India earlier. So when I put it up on Flickr and iNaturalist, people told me to publish it. And Praveen, who was the co-author, he is the associate editor of Indian Birds. So along with him, I published this article. So to publish a bird article, we need to go back to history. So the first collection in India was in 1846. And we need to know where exactly this specimen is located. So there are websites from which you can trace. So some are in the London Natural History Museum, some are in British or French museums. And then you write to the curators of those museums and ask them to find out details about when it was collected, who collected it, and then you find the location. So all this background research needs to be done before article is accepted. So this was the second publication. So we started a project with the Siddharth Kulkarni, who is an arachnologist. He is the India representative on the World Spider Catalogue. So he came to Mukunda and we found a large number of very interesting spiders. But during that time, we found these 2 bugs. And he took it to this Hemant Gate, who is one of the top researchers on bugs. And we published this particular bug. So again, for bug publications, we need to have macroscopic, microscopic, and distinctive features to say that it belongs to a particular species. And then we started the Mukunda Nature Club, and we had a lot of school children involved. So one of the school girls in class 8, she found this very interesting spider, which had not been reported for 140 years since its original discovery in Sumatra. So that spider was reported, and we caught the spider. So it's a very colorful spider, and it was on an egg sac. So we took the eggs out, and the hatchlings were also photographed. So those are the hatchlings. Unfortunately, we could not raise them up to. So this spider is a female spider. We could not get the male spider. And for spiders, before you can publish them, we need to know that their genital organs are distinct from other genital organs. So spider species are described by the shape and appearance of the male and female genitalia. So it's like a lock and key arrangement. So the male and female are confirmed to belong to a particular species because they fit into each other and they're distinct from other species. So that was how this was published. But recently it has been shown that this particular species belongs to a newly discovered species in China. So this discovery was put up in Zoological Survey of India's Animal Discovery 2017. And then I found a very interesting moth. It's called a ghost moth, Hepialid moth. So I did a Google search and found out that the world authority on this type of moths is John Graham in the USA. So I told him I found this moth. So he said, you please send it to me. So I just sent it to him. And then he dissected it and found out exactly what species it was. But the problem is, it is illegal to send a moth, dead moth to another country. So before publishing it, we had to bring it back to India. So I brought the moth back to India, and now it is deposited in the National Center for Biological Sciences at Bangalore. And then we published this article on forest ghost moth fauna of Northeast India. So this particular family is very interesting because there is a moth which is found in Tibet, which gets infected by a fungus. And when the fungus grows out of the snow, people collect it and think that it has got some aphrodisiac value. And that fungus is more valuable than gold. This is the moth that I found. And then I got one of my school boys, Rejoice Gasa, and he is a very keen naturalist. So I taught him everything I know, and he started doing observations. We took him as a full-time member of the biodiversity department at Makunda, and he observed this particular bird, which is very rare, golden crested myna. So together we published this observation. So again, we need to go to the museum. So this particular museum is an American Museum of Natural History. So you have to write to the curator, and they will send us photographs of the birds. And it will tell where exactly the bird was collected and on what date. So that gives ideas about its distribution and about confirm that they are present in a certain location at a certain month of the year. And then we did a little bit of research in Meghalaya and found this particular bird, which has never been reported outside Cherrapunji. So this new location was about 50 kilometers away from Cherrapunji, which is a significant range extension. So again, that was published. And this is a very rare bird, it's very difficult to see, a very small bird. A very rare meaning in India. So it's a winter migrant and comes at a certain time to some places. One place is in West Bengal, but it's the first time it was reported from Northeast India. I also wrote 2 chapters in this book by Dr. Anwaruddin Chowdhury. So he is an IAS officer and also a naturalist. He has got about 600 publications. And I was privileged to write these 2 chapters in the book. And then we found this, again, a winter migrant, a vagrant, which has not been found very much in India. And if you look at the table on the left, most of the observations have been in West Bengal. So this we found repeatedly over the last 3 years in the same location. So these are very rarely seen birds in India. So this is the bird. And then we bought a camera trap. And with that, we found in our near our campus this brush-tailed porcupine. Again, first photographic record in the Barak Valley. And that is the camera trap. And if you look at the image on the left, you can see the tail, which looks like a brush. And that is what distinguishes this particular species of porcupine. And then we started making database of species. So far we have 250 species of birds, about 300 species of butterflies, and then these dragonflies and damselflies. Shantanu Joshi is an expert at dragonflies. So out of each specimen, we collected one specimen and sent it to him in National Center for Biological Sciences at Bangalore. And they were confirmed, and that was published. So in and around Mukunda, we got 97 species of dragonflies and damselflies, and 4 of them were reported for the first time in India. And the first one, that Nanophyopsis clara, at the time had not been reported outside Taiwan, so it is really far away. And then after we published, they found it in Thailand. And then 4 other species were reported for the first time from Assam. So this is that Nanophyopsis clara. So again, although the appearance is very distinctive, to confirm that it is that particular species, we need to collect a specimen, dissect out the genitalia and the wing venation, and compare it with reference images to say that definitely it is what we think it is. And this is another 2 rare dragonflies. So the one on the left I photographed in my hospital quarter. So I put a 150 watt mercury vapor lamp, and this dragonfly was attracted to the light. And the one on the right was photographed in our trail. We developed a research trail at Mukunda. And then we found another Hepialid moth, the same ghost moth. And this one, we were able to get good quality specimens. And this is the moth, both the live images and the dissected and the specimen. And it was conclusively proven to be a completely new species. So it's usually named after the discoverer. But I declined to accept my name as the species name, and instead requested that it be named after the hospital. It was probably the first species to be named after a mission hospital, Endoclita Makunde. So these are all the detailed images that are needed for other experts to say that no other moth looks like this one, and it is unique. So these are the genital dissections. So these sort of publications cannot be done without another expert. And this is one of my best publications. It's not actually a book, it is an online review. So this is the most authoritative website in the world, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Birds of the World. And I was requested to review this species account of the Kachar bulbul, Iole kacharensis. So actually, this bulbul looks very similar to other bulbuls of the same family, the same genus Iole. But DNA analysis showed that it was distinct. And I did a lot of research because I was in Bhopal for about 6 months with our daughter before I joined CMC Vellore. And during that time, I did a lot of literature review and spoke to many top experts in the world and published this account. So if you are interested in birds, I recommend that you become a member of Birds of the World. So if you look at the content, you have to describe how you identify the bird, how the differences in plumages, systematics, that means the classification, the DNA analysis, distribution, habitat, movements and migration, diet and foraging, sounds and vocal behavior, breeding, demography, populations, conservation management, priorities for further use.
Are you okay, sir? Sir? Sushil, is it working?
Yeah, I can hear you, Harsh.
Yeah, now we can see you, sir.
Vijay, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you see the presentation?
The
Yes.
slide is visible, is not in the slideshow mode, sir. It's a bit of frozen actually.
Hello?
Sir, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, the electricity keeps going off. Along with that, the internet.
Yeah, no, same
Can you
happened
see-
to me just now.
Okay.
To
Can
reach
you see
there.
the
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So that is about this Kachar Bulbul. It is found only in area near Makunda and a little bit inside Bangladesh and a little part of Meghalaya. So these are some other projects which are still going on. So we are doing another large project on the thyroidid moths of India. They are called picture wing moths. And another on bird biodiversity, butterfly species list, and so on. So this is a brown boo book, which I think is found here also. So this particular bird was, the baby bird was knocked off the nest, and we kept it at home. And the mother bird used to come and feed it. So we did a lot of observations. The mother bird actually came inside the house, and it would wait there till we caught it and then release it outside. So that I am going to write it up. And this is another interesting observation where this myna used leaf to poke at the male chick of this greater flameback, use of a tool. And this is about a very unusual cocoon made by this hyena moth. So initially this was just a personal hobby, but at one time the government took over 650 acres of our 1000 acre campus, and I went to the government and asked them to give us compensation for that land which was acquired. And then they were asking, why can't we take over the remaining 350 also? Just keep 50 for yourself and give us 300. So I was trying to explain to them why we needed to retain the land. And the only thing that was accepted was that we were doing this biodiversity research. But then they said you should publish at least 5 articles and get recognized by the Ministry of Forest and Environment. So we started the biodiversity department and did a huge amount of observations, research, and then finally got recognized. So this is the Minister of Forest and Environment asking me. I gave a talk on biodiversity documentation. So this is the Makunda Nature Club, which is one of the most prolific clubs in India, with over 50,000 observations on iNaturalist. And this is the trail we developed inside the hospital, a 1 kilometer trail. So this is a group of school children who were taken because to stop all this wood cutting and capture of animals and all that, we need to get the community involved. And the best way to do that is to use school children. So we started a small school in 2004, and now we have 1,300 children from all the forest villages. So these are also parts of our trail, and a lot of extremely interesting species of all sorts are found in this trail. So that is the school. We started with about 10,000 rupees painting an old building, and that is the school on the other side, the present day school. So it also we have a website, not website, a group just for the school with its own app. So we asked the children to put up photographs and describe every species of bird, and they made a very good exhibition. And I'll just show some images. This is a very unusual species of monkey, Trachypithecus fairy. And so far, most of the observations were inside protected areas, inside sanctuaries. But we found this outside the sanctuary, very close to the hospital. And we have quite a lot of observations of this particular species. So these are fairly common mammals. There are a lot of wild elephants in the forest. Sometimes they go and destroy homes of people. The same bat that we find here in Vellore campus. I think this is the one that hosts that Nipah virus. It's a very interesting bird. Dicyon cruentatum. So cruentatum is supposed to mean sprinkled with blood. It's only about 9 to 10 centimeters in size. Another unusual is flower pecker. This is that brown bubuk. On the right, you can see the bird inside our house. So it came inside, fed the baby bird, and then did not know how to get out. So it will come and perch there till we caught it with our hands and released it outside. And then it came out in daytime to see whether the baby is all right. So we got good photographs in daytime. Other birds. This is one of the endangered species there. So this is a scimitar babbler. So it uses its beak to put it inside cracks and pull out big spiders. And cuckoos, I think all of you know that cuckoos lay their eggs in the nests of other birds. So this particular one puts it in the nests of lesser and greater necklaced laughing thrushes. This is the Kachar bulbul, that one which I mentioned earlier. The common birds of Mukunda. So we have lots of snakes. Some of them are venomous. This one is venomous, but usually doesn't produce any deaths. So these are very lethargic snakes. So they're not aggressive. They are all nocturnal. So people don't get bitten very much. Another crate. So this particular crate, again, very few bites, because if you go and tap it on the back, it will curl up and put its head under the coils. And all these northeastern species cannot be neutralized by the Indian anti-snake venom. The only really deadly one is the king cobra. A lot of very large monitors, many of them about 5 or 6 feet long. And interesting, this is a bird dropping frog. So when it lies still, it looks like a bird dropping on a leaf. This is very large, second largest gecko species in the world. It produces a sound which can carry 1 or 2 kilometers. This is inside our house. So this is the local tarantula. So this is photographed in our bathroom. Another, this one actually we should have published it. We were the first to find this particular species in India, but another person published it. So if you look at this, the spiders, the genus, the families are found out by looking at the distribution of the eye. So this particular distribution with large front central eyes and 2 small ones on the side is typical of jumping spiders, Salticidae. And the 2 horn-like things in the side, they are distinctive of the genus Hyllus. So this is another one that mimics a small bug, Paraplectana. So this is a wandering spider. So this species is supposed to produce coronary vasospasm and priapism when they bite people. This is a recluse, again a venomous spider which produces non-healing ulcers. So all of them are photographed inside our bathroom. And this is a spitting spider. So it goes very close to a moth or something and spits silk at the moth, and then kills the moth and eats it. So that is the largest moth in the world. I think it's found here also. And these moths spend most of their life cycle as caterpillars, and then they breed, and then they just last for a few days. They don't have any mouth parts, so they can't eat anything, and then they die after laying eggs. So lots of interesting butterflies and dragonflies, damselflies, and beetles. So beetles differ from bugs by the hard cover they have on top of the wings. and interesting caterpillars. So this caterpillars come out of that egg on the side. It mimics a small snake. And we have a lot of reduweed bugs in India. So this is one of the largest reduweed bugs, which feeds on earthworms. So some birds. So this is one of the orchids, Mukunda orchids. So this is a ground orchid. So I don't know whether you know that a lot of orchids are one of the largest families of plants in the world, and a large percentage of them are ground orchids. They're not in the tree tops. They're called terrestrial orchids. And when the first orchids were discovered, they dug them out of the ground and found that they had identical couple of tubers like potatoes. And that is why they were called orchids, because they look like testes. This is another Mukunda orchid. And this is a very large fungus, and you can see something like smoke coming out of it, and that is the spores coming out of the bottom of the fungus. This is a rare endangered species of Dipterocarp, which we have at Mukunda. So I don't know whether you can hear. These are all sound recordings.
Sir, we can't hear the audio recordings. I think when you share, you'll have to click on the box which says share audio. When then it will come as audio, we'll be able to hear the audio as well, sir. When you're sharing the presentation beginning.
Okay, then I'll just skip that. So then the other thing is, we tried to get the government to declare this particular part of the forest as a sanctuary or protected area, but that never happened. So after nearly about 10 years of trying, we thought the next best is to start ecotourism. So I trained this boy who's sitting there, the red shirt, Rejoice Gasa. He's one of our school children, and he had a very good interest in bird sounds. So I taught him everything I know and sent him for a 1-year course in videography and photography of wildlife. So he started this ecotourism project in his village. So now lots of people from all over the world come there, all over India come there, because once you cross 1,000 bird species, if you want to improve your score, you will have to see the 4 species at Mukunda, which can't be found anywhere else. Not Mukunda, nearby villages. So people pay about 30,000 rupees to come and see these birds. They pay for the travel from the airport, homestay, food, and so it's a livelihood project for the villages also. And it also protects the forest, because if the forests are cut, then their livelihood is gone. So this is Rejoice. He has made a few videos which are also on my blog. So I don't know whether this will play. Can you see that?
Yes,
Yes, sir. The video is playing.
Yeah. So this is the sort of place. This small bridge collapsed when I went over it. So I requested the villagers to repair it. So they put all these small bamboos, and then we have to sort of go across it. So this one is in Sikkim. So we went to Nathula Pass. So full of snow. So these are the sort of village roads. So we have to travel about 6 or 7 kilometers in these roads before you reach the start of the trail, and after that walk another about maybe 10 kilometers. So thank you. I hope I have given something to about this topic on biodiversity and research.
Yeah, definitely, sir. It's very mesmerizing to see all those images, and I keep seeing it because you were an inspiration to see. If you see sir's iNaturalist account, you'll be amazed to see how many different kind of birds, and not only that collection itself, that the quality of image that itself is quite world class, I can say, and which is very apparent through this. From the chat, I think you answered Raj's question about the population stability of Kachar Bulbul. And Raj is saying that Bubuk rescue incident is quite interesting. And even I found it like parenting care, the maternal instinct in that mother Bubuk was quite strong to cross any hurdle and just, I've seen few in the gorayas and all, the sparrows and all, that they come inside and feed, and if you keep them. So the usual belief of that if you rescue any bird, the parents will like kind of abandon. That's not true actually. It's about how you keep it and keep it. If you observe from a distance and try to let the mother come, mother can still feed the babies. If any other questions, Latif?
We also had a crested serpent eagle, fully grown crested serpent eagle, which was shot and came with hemoptysis and fractured femur. So that one we kept it at home, and we fed it with fish kept on a long stick so that it didn't peck us. And about 2 months later, it started flying inside the house. It was about 7 feet, 6 feet wingspan, and then it got released.
Yeah, when I was young, I had an egret, injured egret, so I didn't have fish that time. So I used to throw the grasshopper on the water, kept in water a little bit, and just throw a grasshopper so that it stimulated that to eat.
Yeah.
Is there? If there are no further questions, we can stop here. Thank you very much for taking this talk, and I think you'll be a constant resource person as well as inspiration for us to in this campus now to how to document and make it a systematic effort to put everything in place. And there are species still to be discovered even in this eastern part of this country. And it's because it doesn't look like superficially, it doesn't look like it's an area of interest, but if you start searching, there are a lot of things which will come into light. Sushil, you want to add anything, Sushil and Latif?
Yeah, no, Vijay, thank you for taking us through that really fascinating journey. It's unbelievable to hear that you started late in life, but you've achieved so much. It's just tremendous. So I really hope that the people who are on the nature group, at least a few people will take this on. And I'd really request you to be there as a resource person for any youngsters who want to try and do what you have been advising us in our group to do. So a big thank you to you. and was wondering whether we can do some, I don't know, Harsh, we can do something similar on our campus, documenting Chittoor
Yeah,
campus
sure.
has done.
Yeah.
With so many people on the campus, we may be able to do combined effort. I don't know. Maybe you can take that up with Dr. Vijay Anand and
Yes, sir. We can actually put a project in the iNaturally itself. iNaturally allows us to put this regional project, so we can put that project and start putting in those different genus and genus entries, and that will that itself will be a good documentation, I feel.
I also feel it will be good to have moth lights. So if you have a 150 watt mercury vapor lamp, then moths will come attracted to the light, and you can make them sit on a white background and photograph them. So there may be new species or interesting discoveries for moths and insects.
Yeah, the last 1 week, sir, I'm almost like documented around 50. Some of them I've seen, because when I put in the Vellore, you have documented some, and Hopeland has documented few of them. So, and the smaller ones are actually one which is difficult to make it in a species level. The genus level, it is still counts, but below that, sometimes it becomes very difficult. So maybe those are some new species.
No, I think for moths, there is a group called Microlepidoptera of South Asia in Facebook. So if you put it there, you will get experts telling you what it is. And Indian moths for the bigger moths. So that is what I did to learn more about the species and genus.
Sure, sir.
Sir, I just have one question. Latif here, sir. Like, for example, when you said you discovered experiment to bank.
Your voice was breaking.
Yeah, so my question is that if you observe the new species of moth or in, for example, are you sending it to an expert for confirmation? Most likely have to be preserved, caught and preserved. So a photograph on a mobile, or if you're lucky with a DSLR, you may be able to take. But for confirmation, you really have to collect the specimen, isn't it?
Yeah. So for some species, you are not allowed to collect, especially inside protected areas. But if something comes into your house, that is not a problem. And also there are some endangered species which are prohibited from collecting. So for sending the specimen, all you need to do is catch the moth into a bottle and put the bottle into the freezer. So the moth dies because of hypothermia. And then you put it into a moth envelope. And then you just courier it to National Center for Biological Sciences or Zoological Survey of India, one of these repositories. For spiders, they'll have to be put in 100% ethanol, because sometimes they need to do DNA analysis by breaking off one of the legs. So, and to know whether they are really rare or not, I used to photograph and send it to one of the experts to ask them whether we should collect or not. So I got a lot of contacts all over the world and some of the top people in India to advise on that. So indiscriminate collection is also not good. We don't collect unless we are very sure that it is something worth collecting.
Yeah, I think the most of the time when you do the initial photograph alone, you will be able to see, okay, these are somewhere closer to this genus and all. And the next question only comes when you have a like little bit of like a general knowledge of things that, okay, these are the species and these are the records are mainly in this region, because even though there are less people, but recording is become more and more as the time is progressing. There are more recordings coming in this all citizen science forum, and and that will start giving you idea of the time. I don't think that you will start today and start collecting it. In the few, if you continue to observe, take photograph, start putting, then at some point you will come to base knowledge, where you see, okay, probably this is something which we have not, because while doing this exercise, you'll be looking through a lot of images, looking through the pictures and books and all, and then you will have a basic understanding of which can be rare type. Because when you go to this text, you know, okay, these are the fine, these are common, these are not so common, they are rare, these are subspecies level, and how these species level identifications are made, because not all identifications are made just on the general morphology, visible morphology. As I said about the many moths are once has to be dissected to give the this. Sir, I had this same moth, and actually Mr. Grahan has responded in one of the photograph which I posted in iNaturalist, but that was in Karnataka, ghost moth, one of the species. So because he is authority in that, so he has put his comment in that image.
Yeah. So another thing is, a lot of people do their PhD. So there is one fellow in Tamil Nadu who is doing his PhD on thyroidid moths of India. So because I was photographing and posting very rare thyroidid moths, there are only about 20 thyroidid moths so far in record in Indian species. But now in Mukunda itself, we have got about 40. So a lot of them are for the first time in India. So we need one or two very passionate experts to help. Otherwise, we don't know which ones are rare.
And I'll say that in future we'll start in our nature talk series. We'll start making these people to just have come and give us talk actually, because that will also give a idea that how the research work in this direction. So we'll try to get the few names in my head, but Mr. Dr. Vijayanand has few more context, so I think that will be useful. All good then. Thank you very much for everybody who has participated today. And I think this record will be available and we can access it anytime. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very